Tomorrow, can we have a tour of your house MTV crib style? I've spotted some really interesting art, etc. behind you in the background. Would love to see more. Perhaps on Patreon. I'd pay to see it. Is it Patreon or Patreon? Phil, is it Patreon or Patreon? It's pronounced potato. That's from Kaz, an MTV cribs style thing. Yeah, I guess so. One day, I've got tons of great art. Got tons of great little bits and pieces. Just doing you a little bit of a... We go around there. It's my bookshelf with loads and loads of little bits and pieces all over the place. Every room is like this. There's another thing there with tons of bits and pieces on it, and loads of bits there with bits and bits. My house is like, if anyone remembers the old Steptoe and Son TV program, my house is like that. Just every corner is just full of shit and tat and bric-a-brac. I said, it's not like I really set out to have this much shit. I didn't set out to have this much tattoos. I got one. And then you go, oh, it looks lonely. Give it another one. And then it turns in. I've got loads of really cool stuff I'd like to show you, actually. Let's see. Maybe. Not yet. Not today. But it's a good idea. Maybe I'll do that as a special. I'll just do like an hour-long special on my shit. Yeah. I think we can definitely put a tick next to that one, Kez. It sounds like a good idea. What song do you wish you had written, and what advice would you give yourself back in 1992 if I could go back? And that's from Mark Lockwood. Mark, how you doing? Hope you're well. What song do I wish I had written? Every day, I think I hear a song, another song that I wish I'd written. There's so many songs. There's billions of them. When I hear a song, and it usually happens with songs that sound familiar. And I love experimental stuff, but I never feel like I wish I'd written that. But when I hear a song and it sounds familiar, I wish I'd written that. I remember when I first heard Dream Police by Cheap Trick, and I wish I'd written that. It wasn't until later on I went, what they've done is just taken Fox on the Run by The Sweet and changed Fox on the Run to Dream Police. Which is, again, another thing that I love is when people purloin riffs, choruses, styles, motifs from other songs. I love it. People say it's ripping stuff off. Give a shit. Is it ripping good stuff off? That's all I fucking care about. So yeah, in all of the songs that I've ever heard in my life, do I wish I'd written one specific one? It would have to be Fox on the Run by Sweet. Only because it's the blueprint to everything that I write to this day. It's got everything. It kicks in with the fucking riff. It's got the killer verse that is good enough to be a chorus, and then it's got that chorus, fuck off, still tick, tick, tick whenever I'm writing songs, or indeed when I'm listening to songs, especially pop rock songs. Yeah, there's loads of songs I wish I'd written, but that is the first one, I think, that made me go, I am going to rewrite that song every time. And people are going to complain that they don't like it, even though they liked the last time that I did it. You fucking mad ones. What advice would I give myself back in 1992? None, because I wouldn't have fucking listened to myself. I would have told myself, going, fuck off, you old cunt, and I would have done whatever I was going to do anyway, and good on me for doing that. The idea of going back and offering advice, it's such a wanky fucking idea. I got no time for the past anyway. I've got no time. I've got no interest, literally no interest in the past. I'm glad I did everything exactly how it happened. Even the stupid stuff. And I'm really glad that I got to do the stupid stuff before YouTube. That's why I'm still here. There's no fucking footage of me doing ridiculous things. But would I change any of it? I wouldn't have given myself any advice, because I always had this thing in my head, even when things were going terrible, or when I was having insane depression, and there was no real term for depression. It was called manic depression, and it didn't really mean anything because it just encompassed everything. But there was no specific term for what I was going through. So as far as everyone was concerned, I was just being a diva, or I was being a, miserable cunt. And understandably so, But But I was always a thing in my head, just stick around until the punchline. And it was, it was advice that I'd given myself. And I never remember anyone giving me that advice. It was probably advice from me, from the future, being as time's not linear. And me just going like, don't take any of this too seriously. Wait until the punchline. And then the whole joke makes sense. At my age now, I'm getting to the point where I can see the punchline coming. And so every single mistake, every single good thing as well, were all vitally important. And had I given myself any advice, or I'd listened to any advice from anyone else, most of whom aren't even working in the business anymore, then I might have fucked it all up along the way. It could have got more successful, and that would have fucked it all up along the way. Everything I've done was great because it didn't have any advice, or great because I wouldn't listen to advice. And I would advise anyone else not to listen to advice. Don't listen to the fucking experts, because they don't know. They don't know how your story should go. And I'm glad now that I'm close enough to the punchline to go, yeah, I can get why. I get why people were interested in me in the first place. It's you read. I don't read, but you get things on Twitter, like Kerrang will put old pieces, and it'll get retweeted, and I'll have a little look and go, oh yeah, smash the computer up in the Kerrang offices. Oh yeah. Drove a tractor into the swimming pool. Oh yeah. I'm fucking so glad that all of that stupid shit happened. I didn't. Nothing bad came of it, apart from I got a really interesting life out of it. I got loads of stories that I can talk about now. This is the punchline. I get to do a podcast talking about all the mad shit that I've seen, and most of which I've done in my life. And I wouldn't give myself any advice. I think advice is a terrible thing. Don't think anyone should give any advice. Warn people that, that fucking stuff over there, it's called fire and it's hot. Fill your boots, stick the finger in, go like, you did tell me. But to say, like, don't put your finger in there, it's like, well, of course they're going to fucking put the finger in there, and so they should. Advice is it's got no place in the world. It's for fucking aggrandized motherfuckers who think that they've got some kind of hierarchy going where they can offer people, well, I know better than you about what you should do. I fucking hate all of that. I really do. I wouldn't give myself any advice, but maybe stick around for the punchline was me giving myself advice. But anyway, who knows? Who knows Mark? Who knows Mark? I know Mark. I know Mark like you know Mark. Oh, yeah, what a guy. If you weren't a musician, what do you think you would be doing or would like to have done? Dwayne Hickman. If I wasn't a musician, I think I was, ever since being a kid, I think alongside really being into music, I was into movies. I've always been into cinema. So I think I probably would have done something in cinema. I don't know whether it would be acting or directing or writing or something. But that's what I would have traditionally done my whole life. And then I got into, paranormal stuff when I was really young and became obsessed with UFOs. And I think over the course of time, I'm still as obsessed in UFOs, more obsessed than I've ever been. Especially now that the whole thing is just such bullshit. It's turned into a religious cult. It has. It's turned into that fucking thing that Alcoholics Anonymous has turned into. I know, backlash, come on, give me it. I'm not saying that religion is bad for everyone. I'm not saying Alcohol Anonymous is bad for everyone, but it's bad for some people. And I hate that UFOs turn into the same culty fucking Moonies thing. But yeah, I would have said that I would have got involved in movies or UFO research. Probably UFO research, because it's just fascinating. The whole thing is I like the idea that the more you know about it, the more questions you've got, so the less you know. I think the only people that are really happy in the UFO circles are the ignorant ones that haven't done it much research and just go, oh yeah, this is what it is. If you believe this, great. If you don't, then you're wrong. What would I be doing? UFO research. That's definitely what I would be doing. This question is from Christiana. I love the podcast idea. It is an idea right now because as of reading this, you haven't seen the podcast. So I hope you still like the idea when you actually see it. I'm sure as you navigate this, you'll also provide us with more of the same unapologetically honest and sage advice. We'll see. We'll see. Sometimes it might be a little bit sage. Sometimes it might just be a bit rambling. And hopefully both will be okay, because you probably are going to get both. Do you have anything specific that you consistently draw your inspiration from, essentially, or is there any one thing that you gravitate towards or that you could feel most inspired by to put into songs? Thank you, Christiana. I don't get inspired by one particular thing. I get inspired by life. The good thing about inspiration is, like, whatever inspires you when you're a young person, the exact same thing can have no effect on you whatsoever. It's a bit like looking at the same subject, especially from a writer's point of view, for something you're writing about in your 20s to something exactly the same subject you're writing about in your 50s, and it's going to be an entirely different song with an entirely different vantage point. But let's face it, every 7 years you are literally not the same person as you were 7 years ago, because every atom and fibre in your body is being replaced by another one. So yeah, there's not one thing that keeps me inspired. Keeping my outlook open. I think I'm always grateful that I'm not a cunt. You know, and I'm certainly saying I'm not a cunt. But I'm saying I'm glad that I'm not homophobic. I'm not racist. I'm not judgmental on people. I look at the news and see obvious cuntish behaviour that seems to be being applauded by other people. I'm glad I've got my politics. Kind of glad I'm doing me, even if things are going terrible in my life. And there was some extreme downs in my life, some great ups, but a lot of being thrown about in the maws of life itself. And I haven't always found it inspirational. Sometimes, lying on a carpet, fucking high on drugs, you don't really find a lot of inspiration from there. But the inspiration come from, I'm glad I've got a carpet. I'm glad I've got drugs. You can always find something that's going to put it. We're fucking very resilient characters as human beings. We can get through a lot. And I like to think that that's being the one thing. Actually, if I was going to say one thing that's inspired me is my ability to get through shit. That's been the greatest inspiration. Because there's been a lot of shit, and I've got through it all, and I'm still here to hopefully tell you stories about it and to waffle on like I am about it. So yeah, my fortitude, I think, is the one thing that's inspired me more than anything, and the fact that I can write songs and put that in is amazing. If that's not inspirational, having the talent to write songs about a life that is way more bizarre than anyone that you know, or anyone. I've never met anyone with a story as weird and convoluted and bizarre and exceptionally unexpected as mine. Things happen and you go, really? I'm going from that to that now? I know. And we'll go through it, but, waking up in a prison, that's not something that a lot of people don't go through. What the fuck am I going to do about this now? There's been an awful lot of that in my life. And the one thing that's inspired me, even in places like a Thai prison, is I'm going to get through this. And not only am I going to get through this, I'm going to write songs about it. And it's going to be worth it. And that's one thing. I think, again, I've said it a few times before, but when I was young, I wished for an eventful life. I put into the universe, I want the exciting life, and it's the life I want, the experiences. It's the experiences that I want. It's the songs that draw on those experiences. It's the skill set. It's the life tricks that you learn when things go fucking haywire at my age, that you go, I kind of know how to deal with this based on the fact that weird shit like this has happened before and it didn't finish me off. I'm fairly confident that this one's not going to finish me off. And that's how I approach life. In everything that I do is just get in, jump, feet first, and it'll be okay, because it was the last time. I would say, Christiana, that my main inspiration has been me. My fortitude, my resilience, my ability to get through extreme circumstances and situations and find it a bit of an adventure. That's what consistently and still inspires me after all this time. That was long-winded even for me, but I learned a lot in that question. I learned a lot in answering that. So thank you for that. And thank you all for all of your questions. This has been a fun one. Probably made a bit less sense, but then that's in the ear of the beholder. I hope you've enjoyed it. Give me more questions about stuff that's not necessarily about me or not necessarily about the Wildhearts. But if you want to ask me about the Wildhearts, knock yourself out. That's been fun. See you next time.